Trump State Chair Bernie Comfort, all my fellow Americans from near and far, it is great to be back in the Keystone State. Just 17 days away from a great victory all across Pennsylvania and all across America. And it's really great to be here with two champions of Pennsylvania and two men that have stood so strong with this president and this administration. Join me in thanking Congressman Lloyd Smucker and Congressman Dan Mueser, two great champions. Great. It is great to be here with so many friends. It really is. And speaking of friends of mine, I just hung up the phone from another friend of mine. I told him I just landed in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I think he sounded just a little bit jealous. So allow me to bring greetings from a man who loves the state of Pennsylvania and has been fighting to keep the promises he made to the Keystone State. I bring greetings from the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. Great to see you all out today, but I got to be honest with you. I'm here for one reason and one reason only. And that is that Pennsylvania and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. It's on, everybody, and the road to victory runs right through Pennsylvania. You know, 4 years ago, a movement was born. And it looks like it's doing pretty good today. It's a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. Here in Pennsylvania, you believe we could be strong again. You believe we could be prosperous again. Pennsylvania said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016. And I know Pennsylvania's going to do it again. You're going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. I mean, look how far we've come. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that was hollowed out by devastating budget cuts, an economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery in nearly a century. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, we rebuilt our military. We cut taxes across the board. We rolled back regulations, unleashed American energy, secured our border, supported law enforcement, stood for life and liberty, the Constitution of the United States. That's called promises made and promises kept. You know, it really is amazing. You think about our national defense, the first priority of our federal government. Provide for the common defense. When Joe Biden was vice president, we saw years of reckless budget cuts to our military. President Donald Trump, he's actually signed the largest investment in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. And I'm proud to report to you, not just as your vice president, but as the father of a United States Marine and the father-in-law of a Navy lieutenant, we are finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and the support that they need to defend this nation. And with that renewed American strength, we've taken the fight to radical Islamic terrorists on our terms, on their soil. Last year, at the direction of our Commander-in-Chief, American forces captured the last inch of territory of the ISIS caliphate. They took down their leader without one American casualty. And Qasem Soleimani is gone. So we rebuilt our military. We stood with our allies and we stood up to our enemies. And in our first 3 years, after the slowest recovery since the Great Depression, we created the greatest economy in history. It's true. I mean, when Joe Biden was vice president, they tried to tax and spend, regulate, and bail their way back to a growing economy. Remember those days? I mean, wages didn't even keep up with inflation for most working Americans. And now, in the midst of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. President Trump, we cut taxes across the board for working families and businesses. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history. We fought for free and fair trade and unleashed American energy as never before. And in just 3 short years, businesses large and small created more than 7 million good-paying jobs, including more than 200,000 jobs right here in Pennsylvania. And you talk about wages. In the last administration, wages for working Americans barely kept up with inflation, and most years they didn't. Under this president's policies that you've supported, over our first 3 years, wages rose at the fastest pace in more than 10 years, and they rose most rapidly for hard-working, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. You know, I like to say, out here in the heartland, we do 2 things particularly well. We make things and we grow things, right? And President Trump said early on, after years of seeing jobs go overseas and factories close, that we were going to bring back jobs to America, to bring back those beautiful words, made in the USA, and that's just what we've done. In the center of that was fighting for American jobs and American workers when it came to trade. When we came into office, fully half of our international trade deficit was with communist China. We were losing $500 billion a year in our trading relationship with China. And Joe Biden, he's been a cheerleader for communist China all along the way. And closer to home, after. In fact, when Joe Biden was vice president, jobs had never come back. He said, "What magic wand do you have?" way back. A career politician who spent 47 years in Washington, D.C., raising taxes, stifling our economy under regulations and economic surrender, or a proven job creator in President Donald Trump, who created 7 million good-paying jobs, is going to do it again for 4 more years. The President said yesterday, quite honestly, it's a choice between a Trump recovery and a Biden depression. So for our families, for our jobs, for the great American comeback that every American wants, we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. So we've stood for our national security. We've stood and fought for prosperity, American energy independence, and American workers. And President Donald Trump every day has stood strong for the rule of law for every American. I'm proud to report to you that as I stand here today, we've seen more than 230 conservative men and women appointed to our federal courts at every level. And they are all judges who will uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, last month we rightly paused as a nation to honor the life and service of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Donald Trump fulfilled his duty under the Constitution, and he nominated a brilliant, principled, conservative woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Oh, we're going to fill it. But I'll tell you what, the President and I called on Democrats in Washington to give Judge Barrett a respectful and dignified confirmation this time. But we have reason to be concerned. And you all may remember, during her last confirmation for the Court of Appeals 2 years ago, the Democrat leader on the Judiciary Committee, Senator Dianne Feinstein, said she was concerned about the fact that Judge Barrett's Catholic faith, quote, lived loudly in her. She said that dogma lives loudly within you. And Hollywood elites have already begun to criticize her faith and her family. Well, I got news for the Democrats and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. So the Senate's got a job to do. And after they discharge their duty to advise and consent, I'll make your prediction. Judge Amy Coney Barrett is going to be Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat. The people of Pennsylvania, while we're talking about Supreme Court, people of Pennsylvania deserve to know. After 150 years, with 9 seats on the Supreme Court of the United States, leading Democrats in Washington are talking about packing the court. Thursday night in that softball town hall meeting that Joe Biden did. Those weren't softballs, those were beach balls. While the president was taking fastballs on NBC and hitting every one of them out of the park. All right? Anyway, Joe Biden the other night, he actually said, quote, I'm open to considering packing the court after the Senate gets done voting on Judge Barrett. Kamala Harris, when she was running in the Democrat primary, said she was, quote, absolutely open to packing the court with more seats and more liberal judges, even though she refused to answer that question in our debate. Thank you. Now Joe Biden says he's going to tell the American people what he'll do after Judge Barrett is confirmed in a week or so, even though millions of Americans are voting right now. Well, come on, man. The American people deserve a straight answer, Joe. When you're running for the highest office in the land, the American people deserve to know if you're going to respect the highest court in the land. But we all know what's going on here, don't we? I mean, I was born in the morning, but not yesterday morning. I mean, they're not answering the question because we already know the answer. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats are going to pack the court with liberal activist judges if they win this election. But we're not going to let it happen. We're going to re-elect a Republican majority in the Senate, and we're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. We're going to stand strong for the rule of law, the Constitution, and an independent judiciary. And I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president who has stood every day with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement all across America. You know, when I was growing up, we'd go up to Chicago from that small town I grew up in and visit my folks' parents. And at my dad's house, we'd see my uncle come out. Me and my 3 brothers would just stand there looking up as he walked out, wearing that uniform of the Chicago Police Department. Sidearm at his side, we just look up in awe. I got to tell you, all of my heroes wear uniforms. The men and women who serve in law enforcement are some of the best people in this country, and they deserve the respect of every American every day. Now, the President and I will always support the right of every American to peaceful protest, enshrined in our Constitution. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. You know, for months, all Joe Biden talked about was peaceful protesters. Remember, all summer long, as the American people literally watched businesses in our major cities burn to the ground. I was standing in Minneapolis at the side of a wonderful African-American businesswoman named Flora Westbrook just a few short weeks ago. Flora founded her salon 35 years ago, the pillar of the community. She told me about that terrible night, a few days after the killing of George Floyd, that she saw the protesters come closer and closer and closer to that little business that she'd built over so many years. Until that Friday night came and it burned her to the ground. I stood there looking down at the ashes of Flora's little shop in Minneapolis. And I told her, on behalf of her president and all the good people of this country, this will not stand. We will rebuild her business, every business, and rebuild and keep safe every community in America. The truth is, Joe Biden would double down on the policies that are leading to violence in our major cities. When you withdraw support for those who protect and serve, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families and our communities. Now, Joe Biden explains it all by saying that, in his words, America is, quote, systemically racist. That police have, and I quote, an implicit bias against minorities. When asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, Joe Biden said, yes, absolutely. And his running mate Kamala Harris said we need to reimagine law enforcement. Well, let me make you a promise. Under President Donald Trump, we're not going to defund the police. Not now, not ever. We're going to back the blue for 4 more years. And we're going to have law and order in every city, in every state in this country for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. You know, you all know what the President and I know. We don't have to choose between supporting our African American neighbors and supporting law enforcement. I mean, under this president's policies, we saw the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans. We signed the highest funding ever for historically black colleges and universities. We created more than 8,000 opportunity zones that are investing in jobs and opportunities in our inner cities. We passed criminal justice reform, and we're expanding school choice all across America to our minority families and every family. And all along the way, we've supported law enforcement with more resources and more support. Our COPS program and through Operation Legend this summer. So I'll make you another promise. Just like we've supported our African American neighbors and all of our minorities, and supported law enforcement for the last 3.5 years, we're going to support police. We're going to support our African American neighbors for 4 more years. For more prosperity, more public safety for every American in every city. So this president has stood strong for the rule of law, for law and order for every American in every city. And President Donald Trump has stood for the religious freedom of every American of every faith. I mean, it's amazing to think. When Joe Biden was vice president, we saw a steady assault on the religious liberty of Americans. The last administration actually hauled a group of nuns into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to live under the mandates of Obamacare. But President Donald Trump, from very early on, has made it clear that we're going to stand for our first freedom, the freedom of religion. We restored the conscience rights of doctors, nurses, teachers, and religious charities. We've championed religious liberty around the world. And President Donald Trump ended the assault on the Little Sisters of the Poor, and the Supreme Court made it permanent by a 7-2 vote. People of faith have no greater champion than President Donald Trump. It's true. And beyond all of that, defending our liberties, defending our highest ideals, our security, our prosperity, I must tell you, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. They want to increase funding to the largest abortion provider in America and go back to promoting abortion around the world. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history, and we're going to keep standing for life for 4 more years. So in our first 3 years, if you're taking notes, we rebuild our military. We revived the economy. We stood for law and orders, our liberties and life. I mean, in a word, we made America great again. And I got to tell you, none of that would have been possible without the strong leadership of our president. But none of that would have been possible without the strong partnership that we've had with Pennsylvania's Republican delegation to the United States Congress. That's why, right after you re-elect President Donald Trump, we need Pennsylvania to send Congressman Lloyd Smucker and Congressman Dan Musser to a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives that retires Nancy Pelosi once and for all. In just 3 short years, we've made incredible progress as a nation. And then the coronavirus struck from China. But once again, the American people witnessed the decisive leadership of our president. You know, before there was a single case of community transmission of the coronavirus in this country, President Donald Trump did what no other American president had ever done. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. He put the health of America first. It's true. Now, Joe Biden said that was, quote, xenophobic. He said it was hysterical. He said closing all travel from China would actually make things worse. But I can tell you, having led the White House coronavirus task force these last 8 months, President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II and saved countless American lives. We reinvented testing. We saw to the manufacture and distribution of billions of medical supplies for our incredible doctors and nurses and healthcare workers. All along the way, we've been protecting the vulnerable, saving lives. And I'm proud to report to you, and in just a little while, we're going to have the first safe and effective coronavirus vaccine for the American people with tens of millions of doses in Operation Warp Speed. That's what leadership looks like. That's the leadership of President Donald Trump. You know, in fact, the president announced yesterday, every day we're one day closer to having that vaccine, which we know we'll have before the end of this year. The president announced yesterday a plan with CVS and Walgreens to deliver and administer vaccines to our seniors in nursing homes and across the nation for free as soon as they're available. So we've responded by putting the health of America first. And we'll continue to do it until we put this coronavirus in the past. Where Joe Biden is talking about shutting down the economy again, under President Donald Trump, we are opening up America. It's amazing to think in the last 5 months, we've seen more Americans go back to work than actually went to work when Joe Biden was vice president for 8 years. 11.4 million Americans back to work, including nearly 600,000 people right here in the Keystone State. We're opening up America again. And we are opening up America's schools. I'm proud to report to you that school teacher I've been married to for 35 years, she's already back in the classroom at that Christian school. We've provided billions of dollars available to our schools, and we just sent out 100 million rapid care tests to school nurses around America so we can get our kids back in the classroom and keep them back safe and sound where they belong. So we're opening up America. We're opening up America's schools. Thanks to President Trump's leadership. Big Ten football is back, too. One week from today, at 3:30, Nittany Lions are going to be back on the gridiron. You know, I got to tell you, it is really great to be here in Pennsylvania with you all. You're just amazing people. Thank you so much for coming out. We love you. But I got to tell you, men and women, we got a choice ahead of us. When you look at their agenda, it's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. I mean, truthfully, Joe Biden has said that democracy is on the ballot. And I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. Law and order are on the ballot. But I also think there's things far more foundational to our country that are on the ballot come November the 3rd. You know, in this election, I think it's not going to be so much whether America ends up more Republican or more Democrat, more liberal or more conservative, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. It's whether we're going to chart a course on freedom and patriotism and all the ideals that have always made this country great, or whether we're going to let Joe Biden, the Democrats, and the radical left steer us on an inexorable path to socialism and decline. So for our freedom and for all the values that have always made America great, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. That's the choice we face, everybody. I believe it with all my heart. And I also want to tell you, you know, 4 years ago when I got the call to join this ticket, I actually didn't know our president very well at all. We'd met a couple of times. But I saw in him, as all of you did, the vision and the leadership qualities that could make America great again. And I joined that ticket in a heartbeat. But I'll never forget the night that he called. My wife and I got tipped off that among a group of wonderful, great Americans that we were going to get the ask. We prayed all the way through it. We knew what answer we were going to give. The greatest honor of our life. I was standing in my study at the governor's residence in Indiana. The phone rang at about 11 o'clock, and with my wife standing at my side, I picked up the phone. I heard that familiar voice. And he said, "Mike, it's going to be great." And he was right. Every step of the way, we've been making America great again. And I can tell you, some people think the president and I are a little bit different. But honestly, we've gotten to be really close friends. We talk every day when we're in different places, and we spend a lot of time together at the White House. So let me tell you firsthand, I've seen it through an unrelenting opposition by Democrats in Washington, D.C., through continuous barrages of attacks from their allies in the national media. There's not a day gone by that President Trump hasn't gotten up and fought to keep the promises that he made to the people of Pennsylvania. Now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on, Pennsylvania. So I got a couple things to ask you to do before I get back on the plane. First, I need you to vote Pennsylvania and vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. I checked on the way here. You can request an absentee ballot until October 27th. Better still, come Monday morning, mark your calendar. You can go down to the County of Berks Service Center, open 8 to 5, 633 Court Street, right here in Reading, and vote to re-elect President Donald Trump. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member, bring a friend, bring a coworker, and vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And number 2, after you're done voting with a friend, I need you to go tell somebody. Tell somebody why you feel so proud of supporting this president and of everything we've accomplished. I can tell looking out at all of you that you know the progress that we've made in this country, but you know it's just the beginning. I just want to tell all of you, back in that election 4 years ago, I was actually on one of those Sunday morning shows. It was a couple weeks before the election. And Hillary Clinton that week was literally announcing that she was announcing a list of cabinet appointments. She was measuring the curtains in the Oval Office. And back then, if you remember, all the polls back then were like, they were all different kinds of polls. Some where we were losing by a lot and some where we were losing by a little, right? It was the whole range. So I'm on this TV show, and this guy, the Sunday morning show, the president calls him Sleepy. He looked at me and he said, almost in a sympathetic tone, he said, 2 weeks before the election, he said, "So what do you think's going to happen?" And I looked at him and I said, "I think we're going to win." And he had this shocked look on his face. "You think we're going to win? Why?" And I said, "Because I'll tell you what," I said, I've seen our candidate out across the country, the tens of thousands of people that were coming out, believing in his vision, believing in his leadership qualities. And I said, and I've seen the literally hundreds of Americans that have come out when I've campaigned as well. And on every one of their faces, I see the same confidence, the same determination. And I knew you all were going to deliver a great victory. Not just for President Donald Trump, but you delivered a victory for America in 2016 because you were talking to each other. You know, the most powerful media in America is now and always has been word of mouth. It's not your big newspapers. It's not your television networks. It's not your social media. It's when someone who knows you and respects you hears from you about everything we've done for this country and everything that we can continue to do to keep making America greater and stronger than ever before. So I need you to get out and talk to people at worship, at work, every day in the next 17 days. It'll make a difference. And one other thing I might ask you to do. If you're of a mind to bow the head and bend the knee over the next 2 weeks, I encourage you to do that too. You know, as I've traveled around America, there's two things that I've become convinced of over the last 4 years. America is a freedom-loving nation, and America is a nation of faith. So I encourage you to pray. Seems like that little girl at the end of my debate asked a question of both of us about division that she sees on television. But I'll always believe that there will always be more that unites us in these United States of America than could ever divide us, and chief among those things is faith. So in the days ahead, I'd encourage you to pray for America. Pray for all the American people. And when you pray, pray with confidence in those ancient words that Americans have clung to in much more challenging times than we could even imagine. That if his people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray and turn, he'll do like he's always done in the long and storied history of this nation. He'll hear from heaven, and he'll heal this land. This one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America, Pennsylvania. It'll make a difference. So it's great to be back in the Commonwealth, but I got a plane to catch. And I'll catch it. But not before I don't say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you for supporting our president and all of those that have stood with us. It's always an honor for me to be in Pennsylvania. As the president said in Johnstown on Wednesday, Pennsylvania is a place where the Continental Army weathered its brutal winter at Valley Forge. For George Washington led his daring men on a trip across the Delaware. It's where our nation was saved by the heroes of Gettysburg. Pennsylvania is a special place. Generations of tough, strong people who worked the mines, worked the railroads, forged the steel that made America the greatest and most powerful nation in the history of the world. That is the past of Pennsylvania. That is the present of Pennsylvania. And that is the future of Pennsylvania and America. And I leave here today with renewed confidence that if all of us do all that we can on every day between now and Election Day, we're going to have a great victory right here in Pennsylvania and all across America. With your continued support, with your voice to your neighbors and friends, and with your prayers. We're going to make Pennsylvania and America stronger than ever before. We're going to make Pennsylvania and America more prosperous than ever before. We're going to make Pennsylvania and America more united than ever before. and with Congressman Lloyd Smucker and Congressman Dan Muser in a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives, with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, and with God's help, we're going to make America great again. Again. Thank you all very much. God bless you. God bless America. And let's go get it done, Pennsylvania.